When I finally came out, the first thing I felt was relief. The weight I had carried on my shoulders for years was suddenly gone, for the first time in a long time. I could breathe, but relief has a strange way of fading quickly, because once the truth is spoken, life begins to rearrange itself, and sometimes it rearranges itself violently. The marriage changes, the house changes, the routine changes, and suddenly you are standing in the middle of your life asking, okay, now what? Am I responsible for all of this? Nobody prepares you for the practical questions that come after coming out. People talk about courage, they talk about authenticity, but they rarely talk about the logistics of rebuilding a life. And those logistics can be overwhelming. Questions start appearing in your mind at 3 in the morning. Questions like, do I stay where I live, or do I move somewhere more accepting? Do I try to rebuild a relationship with my ex-wife, or do I simply let time do its work? Do I explain everything to my family, or do I stop trying to justify my existence? What about my kids? Do I give them space, or do I fight to stay present in their lives? And then there are the questions nobody admits out loud. Do I have to change the way I dress? Do I have to become someone completely different now? Do I suddenly need a membership card to the official gay lifestyle? Because when I came out, nobody gave me a manual. There was no welcome package, no instructions that said, congratulations, here's how to rebuild your entire life. Before rebuilding anything, something else usually happens first. Grief. Not because the truth was wrong, but because an entire chapter of your life has ended. You may grieve the marriage, you may grieve the family structure, you may grieve the life you thought you were supposed to live. You may even grieve the fear that you could lose your place in your children's lives. And grief can make you question everything, even the decision to come out. Many people quietly think at some point, did I just destroy my entire life? That question is more common than people admit, but deep down, we know the truth was necessary. Eventually, the emotional dust begins to settle, and a different question appears. Not, what did I lose? But, what kind of life do I want now? Rebuilding a life after coming out usually happens in stages. For instance, Step 1, stabilize your life. The first step is not romance. It's not running after another man just because loneliness hurts. The first step is stability. Where will you live? Can you afford your new life? Do you need to simplify things financially for a while? Some people move to new cities. Some people stay exactly where they are. Some people discover that a smaller life can actually feel lighter. Step 2, rebuild your social world. Loneliness is one of the biggest challenges after coming out later in life, and loneliness can push people into unhealthy relationships very quickly. Instead of rushing into romance, it can help to build community first. That might mean joining social groups, traveling, meeting other people who have walked a similar path. Some people even explore places like LGBTQ campgrounds or retreats where stories are shared openly. Not because they are looking for a partner, but because they are looking for understanding. Step 3, rebuild family relationships. Slowly. Family relationships are complicated after coming out. Some children need time, some spouses need distance, some family members surprise you with kindness, others do not. Rebuilding these relationships is not something that can be forced. Sometimes the best approach is patience, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is simply, I am still the same person who loves you. Step 4, let go of the idea that you must become someone else. One of the strangest fears people have after coming out is this idea that they must suddenly become a completely different person, that they must change the way they dress, change their personality, change their identity. But coming out is not about becoming someone new. It is about finally allowing yourself to be the person you always were. You don't need a costume. You don't need a stereotype. You just need honesty. You need yourself. Step 5. Build the life you actually want. Once the chaos settles, something unexpected begins to happen. You begin to realize that your life is no longer controlled by secrecy, and that freedom allows you to ask questions you may have avoided for years. Where do I want to live? Who do I want to love? What kind of life actually makes me happy? Those questions can be frightening, but they are also incredibly powerful, because for the first time, the answers belong entirely to you. At some point during this rebuilding process, another question may appear, a question many of us quietly resist. Should I talk to a therapist? Now let's be honest. A lot of people hear the word therapy and immediately think, great, now I have to pay someone $100 an hour to tell me that my childhood explains everything. And yes, sometimes therapy does involve talking about childhood, but rebuilding your life after coming out is not just an emotional adjustment, it's a psychological one. For many of us, the closet was not just a secret, it was a survival strategy we practiced for decades. Learning how to live without that strategy can take time. A good therapist is not there to judge you. They are there to help you untangle things like why you feel guilty even when you did the right thing, why loneliness suddenly feels overwhelming, why certain relationships in your life change so dramatically. Sometimes just saying these things out loud to someone who understands can make an enormous difference. And if you find the right therapist, you may realize something surprising. You are not broken. You are simply learning how to live honestly for the first time. Another challenge that often appears after coming out is loneliness. Real loneliness. The kind of loneliness that shows up at night when the house is quiet and the routine you lived for years has disappeared. And loneliness has a very interesting effect on human judgment. When you've spent decades hiding who you are, the moment someone finally shows interest in the real you, it can feel incredibly powerful. Sometimes the first person who says, "I see you," suddenly feels like the most important person in the world. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Loneliness can make us rush into relationships that are not healthy. It can make us ignore warning signs. It can make us believe that attention is the same thing as love. And unfortunately, there are people in the world who recognize that vulnerability. Some people are looking for companionship. Others are looking for opportunity, financial opportunity, immigration opportunity, emotional dependency. And when you are rebuilding your lifestyle, the last thing you need is another emotional earthquake. That doesn't mean you should avoid relationships. It simply means you should give yourself time. Time to understand who you are now. Time to rebuild stability. Time to recognize the difference between someone who wants to walk beside you and someone who simply wants to use the road you're walking on. Because the truth is, after coming out later in life, you are not just learning how to love someone else. You are also learning how to protect yourself. And that takes patience. One thing I discovered while rebuilding my life is that you don't have to figure everything out alone. When you've spent years in the closet, isolation becomes a habit. You get used to solving everything quietly, but after coming out, that approach stops working. At some point, it helps to know that there are places where people understand what you're going through. For example, many cities have LGBTQ community centers. These places often organize support groups, social events, and counseling services for people who are navigating big life changes. And sometimes just sitting in a room with other people who have walked a similar path can make you realize something very important. You are not the only one rebuilding your life. Organizations like PFLAG, for example, often host meetings where families and individuals talk openly about their experiences. There are also online communities where people share stories, advice, and support. Some people even find connection through retreats, travel groups, or LGBTQ-friendly campgrounds where people gather simply to socialize and relax without hiding who they are. None of these places will rebuild your life for you, but they can remind you that rebuilding a life is something many people have done before. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can hear from someone else is simply this: "I've been where you are, and it gets better." I'm going to place some resources in the description of this video for anyone who might need support, and you can see that slowly, something unexpected begins to happen. The chaos starts to settle. New friendships appear. Conversations with your children slowly become easier. The life that once felt broken begins to look possible again. And slowly, something surprising begins to happen. You realize that the life you feared losing was actually making room for a life you had never allowed yourself to imagine. Coming out later in life does not instantly create happiness. It creates something far more important. It creates honesty. And honesty gives you the opportunity to rebuild your life intentionally, brick by brick, choice by choice. And slowly, that new life begins to look less like the ruins of the past and more like the beginning of something real.